This is True Multifamily, the show where we dive in on what really happens after closing a multifamily property. We're going to expose the role of asset manager. That's the person who has the responsibility of seeing the vision, executing the plan, and managing people, budgets, and timelines, all to deliver returns for our investors. These are the real struggles, the real victories, and the real stories of asset management.
Welcome back to another episode of True Multifamily. I'm your host, Justin Fraser, here today with Gary Lipsky. Gary, thanks for coming on the show, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I'm excited to have you here. One of the few other people on LinkedIn and social media talking about asset management. So I love that you guys are always talking about asset management, spreading the good word. So let's start just with a little background on Gary. Tell us, what you did before, how you got into real estate investing. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, I've always been an entrepreneur since I was a child growing up in New Jersey, and so I owned a restaurant delivery service in college, and outside of college, I co-produced a few independent films in my 20s. I owned a outdoor education company, and during that time, I was starting to invest in real estate. Some single family stuff and some value add, but I didn't realize it then. I was building the skills to be a strong asset manager because I'd been running businesses. My last business, we had over 700 employees and 700 independent contractors. We worked with 9,000 kids daily. And so it was building that scale and working with teams and that attention to detail. And that gave me the skill set to be really strong in asset management. And when I sold that business at the end of 2016 and got into multifamily full-time, there were so many different ways I can go into real estate. And that's what really I liked about multifamily is that it's like running a business, and I had that experience, and so it just came natural. But certainly, there was a lot to learn, and I'm still learning every day. If I'm not learning, I'm not growing. So that's a key component of my belief, and just sharing the knowledge that I have with others.
Yeah, I love that, and I love that you right off the bat said asset management, buying an apartment complex is buying a business. And so, you have to think about it that way. And it's something that I try to encourage all of our listeners to think about. You're not just buying a property. It's not the same as a 1, 2, 3 unit property. You're buying a business that has to be run exactly like a business. So tell us a little bit about the projects that you got into. You said you started in 2016. How did you get into multifamily investing?
Yeah, I attended a lot of conferences, a lot of meetups, and building up my database, and that was super important. I met Kyle at a meetup, my business partner, and I was going out to Phoenix, he was going out to Phoenix, so we went out together, and we're spending long days together. 17, 18 hours driving there, walking properties, and seeing if it's a good fit for us, if we had the right mindset, the right work ethic, ethics in general, and that clicked. So, the first deal we did was a 42 unit, and that was under 2 years ago. We actually sold it on Monday, so we went full cycle on that. Yeah, thanks. But that was a $1.65 billion purchase, and then our next deal we purchased was over 15 million, and the only reason we went from that one to almost 10 times bigger was because of that database that we were both working on, not only for investors, but partners. And, we were just thinking much bigger, and we knew we had to start small and learn as much as we can. But building the systems, let us purchase that 15 million and do it really strongly.
Love it. Can you talk a little bit about those systems and about how you run your properties like a business?
Yeah, absolutely. And so, first thing when you buy a business, it has nothing to do with emotion. It all has to do with just the facts, the numbers, the data. So you've got to have tremendous attention to detail, and that starts with due diligence and working, creating a business plan, making sure everyone's on page. So communication is important. Communication with all your team members, your property management company, your vendors, even your residents, how you convey the changes that are going on and why you're raising rents. I mean, we we raised rents almost 50% at that property. And we were astonished to how many people stayed there because they knew they were getting great value. We were improving the property tremendously and they really enjoyed it. So, they all decided pretty much to stay, even though, they're paying significantly more.
It's a huge increase. Wow.
Yeah. Accountability is also important with asset management. Accountability for yourself to make sure you're doing the things that you've promised to do, and holding your team accountable. And it's not a gotcha type of thing, but it's putting deadlines that we all agree to, and then holding them to it. Because if they're agreeing to that deadline and they don't do whatever task they're supposed to do by that's on them. They created that deadline. We're just sticking to it. So, it's no excuses, and working together to problem solve. So it's not, asset management isn't brain surgery, but you've got to put in the time. And I think a lot of people, they buy deals, they let their property management company run the show. They put it on cruise control. They're looking for their next deal. And that's that. And for the most part, in the last 10 years, you could do pretty good that way, but pretty good and doing great, that's a huge difference. That's all profit. And, Kyle and I really focus on that piece as well, because, if your head is in the game and you're staying on top of it, then, that's a huge payoff for yourself and for your investors.
Yeah. Are you also involved in the construction management side of things as well?
Yeah, our property management company has that in-house, but it's that tracking of renovations, which is so important. And we've gotten a lot better over time, coming up with better systems, because, they're not organized, quite honestly, and so you're trying to get them to be organized, follow a system, per unit, what's the work that's getting done, because it varies. Every unit is a little different, and making sure we're on track. And it starts with us budgeting extra money for all of that, because you want to be able to pivot. You may want to spend a little bit more on something else. You want to have that flexibility. And if you're undercapitalized, that's a real problem. So we've always had extra funds, and that's done us well during COVID or whatnot, to know that, if we 6 months in, a year in, we could talk to our broker, our property management team, and pivot, and to maximize our NOI. And whether it's adding a paint job that we didn't budget for, that we said, this is going to get us an extra $50 just from exterior paint, then let's do that. So there's a lot of different factors involved. But yes, that construction management piece is so important, because that can get away from you very fast.
I find that one thing I end up spending so much time on is cash management. Cash, not only, operation side, that's mostly handled by the property manager, but on the construction management side, if you let your PM sort of go wild and they're spending without you knowing, so what sort of controls do you guys have on approving projects and making sure that the money's going to the right place?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, anything that's even like $1,000 or more, they send it to us, and we try not to waste anyone's time. It's just a quick email. Hey, this broke, can we move forward? Yes, approved. So it's just a real easy tracking system, but it's that monthly financials that are so important, that you need to go through with a fine-tooth comb. And people make mistakes. The accountant, has 10 different properties, however many they have, and things get allocated the wrong way. So you really got to pay attention. Is this CapEx? Is this normal turns, whatever it is, whatever category, you got to make sure it's all for your property. It's all correct. Even the other day, I mean, it's silly, but I was like, I saw a charge for $275 in dog bags. I'm like, do we really need that many poop bags? It was like crazy. But she's like, well, we've got 5 stations. It's a big property, but those are just little things that, you just, not to micromanage, but you can ask questions, and then, get your answer and then move on.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And what I do something very similar at the end of every month. Well, the 15th of every month, when our reports come due, it's like line by line. Let's go through what looks out of line. What questions do I have? And yeah, a lot of times it's just a question and an answer, but the asset manager has to be so aware of all the expenses on the property. And you say micromanagement, and it can be if you're, hounding the PM on every line item, but ultimately the asset manager is responsible for all those line items. And so you have to then go back to your partners or your investors and explain why, maybe not, why do we spend $270 on poop bags, but, as expenses start to climb or income starts to decrease, you're responsible for that. So just want to stress that it is absolutely important to know the micro so that you can speak about it and make macro decisions. Can you tell me a little bit about your team? I know that you and Gary are partners. Sorry, you and Kyle are partners. You're Gary. Do you have like virtual assistants or site staff? How do you manage your properties and do?
Yeah, so we have an executive assistant who's been fantastic. We're actually promoting her up to assistant asset coordinator because she does a lot for us. And or actually, it's a manager of operations, I think the title is. And we're going to bring on a new executive assistant to help as we continue to grow and take on more properties. And then we have an underwriter who's, we just pay on an hourly basis when we need projects done. We have someone that does artwork for us. So we outsource a bunch of things, but we have really strong systems that maximize our time. So we're not wasting time. And then obviously we rely on our third party property management company, our regional, who we are in touch with a lot for properties that we're interested in and running comps by them, as well as, managing our properties.
Got it. Okay, I want to transition. Great overview, by the way. You covered, I think, at a high level, all the different aspects. But tell me about Asset Management Mastery. Tell me about this course that you're rolling out.
Yeah, we're launching it May 3rd, 5 p.m. Pacific. It's going to be 7 weeks. We've got 15 modules. Really excited about it because, there's a lot of courses out there that teach you how to get your first deal, but that's that. You buy a property and you don't know what the heck to do. You're just going on instinct and trying to figure it out. But this course will take you from due diligence all the way to disposition and everything in between, because we want people to kind of go through the whole cycle and have all the tools that they need to be successful. Now, that person's got to do the work, but we're going to give them tons of resources that we have. We've got secret shopper reports that we'll give them, CapEx tracker that we were talking about, property management company questionnaire to kind of find the right property management company for them. We've got our list of KPIs that we use, sample reports on due diligence, and we'll walk them through all of those things so that they can be a best-in-class operator.
I love it. So you said it's a 7-week course. I'm presuming it's virtual through Zoom. Is there certain times or is it like video content? How's it work?
Yeah. So the first session, it'll be every Monday. May 3rd is the first one for every week thereafter. But after that, it'll be recorded and anyone can get to it. So when you take the course, it'll be live the first time, recorded thereafter, and they have lifetime access. And any person that comes in later can get into the recorded modules and also the resources that we have. It'll be housed on Kajabi. And actually, for your listeners, we'll give them. If they act fast, we have a $500 off. 500 off is a coupon code for the course.
Okay, awesome. And so where can they go find that, and where do they put that code in?
Yeah, so I would say it's a long website name. So go to my website and you'll be able to find it there, assetmanagementmastery.com, and click on course, and we'll have a link so we don't have to have this really long address.
Okay, and $500 off. That's awesome for our listeners, guys. If you want to learn all about asset management, what a great idea. I'm jealous that I didn't do it because I love that concept, and I think you'll do well with it. And it's so important, as our listeners know, because that's all we talk about is asset management. So before we go, Gary, can you please give us your true multifamily tip? Someone comes in, and I'm going to make it asset management specific. Someone says, "Hey, Gary, I want to be a multifamily asset manager." What is your advice for them?
Yeah, I would listen to these kinds of podcasts, read books, I talk to other people what they're doing, because everyone's willing to share information. There's a lot of information out there, and it's just a matter of putting it into action. Like I said earlier, it's not, brain surgery here. You've got to have attention to detail, strong communication skills, accountability, and measure everything. Measure everything so that you can see, is it going well? Is it not going well? Do you have to pivot? So those 4 things will lead you to really good success.
Absolutely. Could not agree more. Gary, thank you so much for coming on the show. Guys, check out assetmanagementmastery.com. Don't forget the promo code 500 off. That's great. And if you miss any of Gary's links or social, that'll all be up on our website, truemultifamily.show. Please leave us a rating and review if you like this episode, and we will see you next time. Thanks so much. Thanks, Gary.
Thanks for listening to another episode. Check out our website at truemultifamily.show. And if you have an amazing story to tell, share it on our Facebook community, and you might just be the next guest on the show. We're also on all other social networks. Just search True Multifamily. I'm really, really proud to have the show produced by our company, On Air Brands. Check us out at onairbrands.com. We also have an incredible, unique podcasting event that we would love for you to be a part of. Check that out at podmax.co.